Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting, innovative, never stale episode of Kaggot. This is our Cat's presenting with my best friend in the world, Jewpiter. Say hello. No, don't actually
Hello,
clap.
Nobs.
Don't
By
ever,
the way,
don't ever do that
by
again.
the way, well, I'm going to. I might even throw in a puppet from time to time. By the way, a lot of people ask us, well, Kaggot, are you, what does this mean, Kaggot? Well, we don't like the Jews and the gays, and so we made real nasty slurs about them.
We made them ourselves. They were never in use before. We're terrible people.
He's a gay, and I'm a Jew.
You figure it out.
What is the
Anyway,
gay?
it's funny. I think it's funny. Although Maga the dog has been triggered by this.
Maga.
It's like what people. It's like what people on Twitter get mad when they see someone else saying something. That's like the report function.
Come on, you're ruining everything. Come on. Good girl.
Ruining it or making it better?
No, ruining it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm afraid you're.
By the way, I want everyone watching before we start to know that I bought her all these really expensive bone marrow fucking things. She does. Look, she runs away from them. She's a coward. She killed a bird once, midair. Not kidding. And
like
a big
ninja
scares her. She's a coward.
No, maybe I don't know. Maybe she's just racist. Like she doesn't like where the bone came from.
Maybe that's why she barked when we talked about the Jews and the gays.
Oh my god! She the only reason she loves you is because she doesn't know that you're Jewish.
If she found out, I wouldn't want to sleep in this house.
Maga the dog is a Nazi. Count Dankula's not the only one. Everyone.
Yeah, but Count Dankula's dog was kidding. I don't think she is.
So you're saying that Buddha was sig heiling ironically, but MAGA is actually like looking for Jews.
Unironically, she hates Jews.
So she's a great.
But here's what she hates more than Jews. Watch this. You ready? MAGA. It's a communist. MAGA. Get him. It's a communist. Go. MAGA. Get it. Communist.
Everyone should have.
Get it. Communist.
Oh God. Anyways.
Now let's start the show. She's still looking for communists. Look at her.
Assuming you haven't already clicked out in horror saying, what the hell is this shit? So today we are going to try to talk about, because we never really stick to anything 100% because me, we are going to talk about the BDS movement and specifically ask the question, why is Israel always held to a different standard than other countries? This isn't inherently pro or against Israel. It's just wondering why Israel, out of all the countries in the world that exists, seems to trigger people stronger than any other. Like seriously, name another country and I don't care what your reasons are, name another country that people have such strong opinions about. Any other country.
And if I can, so number one, for once, we're actually kind of professional. We figured out how to put a window into the feed, and I'd like to show a graph. One of the big things is, so people say anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism, which on its face is absolutely true. You can hate a country without hating its people. You can hate a country without hating Jews in Brooklyn. And I'm very fed up with racism and anti-Semitism around every corner. And this is a very strange cast for me because this is something Katz and I were talking about just casually on the phone today, and we decided to do this. But although I'm fed up with everyone calling everything anti-Semitism and everything racism, and calling everything racism and anti-Semitism makes people hate Jews and minorities, by the way.
Just like calling everything
What's that?
Just like calling everything homophobia, transphobia, anti-blackness. It makes people, after a while, people are like, okay, I'm sick of hearing about it. Even the
Right.
people who are, everyone.
And it can breed hate towards that group just because they're like, I'm not homophobic, but at this point, fuck them, you know? But we were talking about this, and it's funny. There's no other group. But so BDS started. Can I just start this, cats?
Yeah, go.
So BDS started by a couple Jews. Okay, well, one and a half, and they claimed they were Jewish, but they hated Israel. Blah. They're not anti-Semitic.
But why?
Yeah, right. And it was really interesting because this Jew hated Israel and hated Jews, legitimately hated Jews because of daddy issues, and she was only half Jewish, and it really messed with her mind. But it was taken over and well-funded eventually by Islamists. And a graph I'm going to pull up real quick. I'm just going to show you guys this. So we just learned how to do this, so bear with me.
Timple, eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Or maybe don't.
Auto Timple. Okay, can we see this?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this is Trump's border wall. This is all the countries, what they think about America having a border wall. Now, eat your heart out. Canada, 79% disapprove. Spain, all the way down to Lithuania, disapproves highly.
And this is Pew Research, by the way, not just some random whatever.
Right. There's only one country that is positive, pro-America having a wall. Can you see my cursor?
Israel.
It's Israel. It's Israel. So now let me exit out of this. One of the big things of the BDS movement doesn't reflect on the right-wing hate of Israel, which is the right-wing point is open borders for Israel. Israel gets a border. Israel gets a wall. Israel doesn't believe in immigration. Why should we? And they hate us, and they want us to have open borders. No. The fact of the matter is Israeli Jews are far different than liberal, atheist American Jews. Affluent, liberal people, period, of this skin color are wildly open borders these days. They hate themselves, and they're narcissists.
And you hear this all the time. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, but please.
You hear this all the time where you'll ask someone like, well, why do you hate Israel? And they start talking about things that American Jews have or supposedly have done. And it's like, okay, that's not the same thing though. Like that assumes that there's like a collective Jew consciousness that or a club that they all belong to. It's like the elders of Zion and their protocols. It's like, okay, that makes about as much sense as saying that all Chinese Americans who are like third or fourth generation are still members of the People's Republic of China. Like they are still operatives for Xi Jinping. Like,
right.
That's ridiculous.
Right. Well, so you take these people and they say, well, Israel. They're controlling our politics. They're controlling this. Now, the Israel lobby. Let me throw a love shot actually to the people who are against Israel. I believe personally, especially after the Iran controversy, I believe that Israel and Saudi Arabia, to be honest, but Israel would love, they're chomping at the bits to be let off our leash, and they're willing and able to unleash themselves on Iran and Iraq. They're willing to police them.
They could glass Iran if they wanted to. People think just because they're a small country that and Iran is so much bigger with more people that Israel wouldn't be able to do it. Everyone thinks that also it's Israel is using the United States to protect them. It's like, no, it's really the U.S. telling Israel, okay, no, stop, don't kill them. We need them. We need their oil.
And Israel does their dirty work. Israel does our dirty work. There's no question. People think that it's the other way around. It's a joke. We give Israel a lot of money, and Mossad goes in and does what we tell them to. And that's the facts. Now, I'm America first. I'm a Jew, obviously, but I think
Oh,
that
I had no idea.
don't tell
Oh my!
this.
Oh my God! The hat. I should have known because of the hat.
Don't tell this one. She hates the Jews.
Do not
Now,
tell his racist dog.
now, what people don't get is that Israel is a strong country, sure, but there's what 15 million people in Israel.
Something like that.
Maybe less, actually. I think it's 11. But we don't get our strings pulled by Israel. And conservative American Jews want Israel, well, at least this one does, to pay their fair share. Let's use a Bernie line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why we need troops in Iraq if we can pull them out and Israel can police them, which, number one, they do a better job. They know the terrain better. They know the area better. What's that?
They know the people.
Yeah. And so why do we need to be there when we pay Israel so much? We give them so much money. Why can't we send Israel to do the job? They'd love to. But anyway, that's just a love shot to the, anti-Israel people.
And again, it's not like Israel, as you said, Israel would totally do this, but then they wouldn't be under our control. And the truth is, the American foreign policy of the Middle East is dependent on a somewhat softer hand than Israel would probably use. Because Israel doesn't really care about Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq. I mean, I don't mean that they want to kill them. They just want to be left alone. What I mean, though, is they don't depend on those countries the same way that we do.
Right, and we're bought into this idea of. So one of our biggest issues is the fact that we're a nation that we used to be the police state of the world, but now at least the majority of Americans don't want to be in these wars. We don't want to police these people. I'd say 70% of people couldn't put Iran on a map, and that was just proven. People tried. They even included the water.
Did you see the hilarious map? That's what you're talking about? Oh my God.
With the water. They included literally the ocean. The ocean.
The Iranian Ocean. Isn't Iran? It's not landlocked, but it is like mostly landlocked. Like it is not a coastal.
But apparently they live. They're Atlantis as well. They live in the ocean.
Oh my God! It's so obvious.
I should have seen this coming. Those goddamn Iranians.
It wasn't the Jews. It was the Atlanteans the whole time. Dun dun dun.
But the BDS movement. Anti-Semitism is not the same as anti-Zionism. There are plenty of people against Zionism that don't hate Jews. But although I'm very weary of the word anti-Semitism and racism, the overwhelming majority of anti-Zionists are anti-Israel. And I go on Twitter enough to know this. The fact of the matter is, Katz and I were talking, there are 1 million borders in this world. Not 1 million, but
there are thousands of countries, thousands upon thousands of disputed border regions and contested areas.
But there's one country that everyone looks at. And there's one country with that type of border. And we were talking, what did you say the Mexican border, if they started lobbing, and I know this is an old trope, but if Mexico started lobbing missiles into America, what would happen if they started lobbing missiles into America day after day? What would America do to them? Any president.
Literally any president at any time. If they started blasting missiles from Tijuana into Chula Vista, which is right across the border, there would be no Mexico. It would be flattened into a tortilla. There would be nothing left. I mean, look at like the American response to 9/11. We didn't even blow up the exact. I mean, we had reasons for going there, but we didn't even blow up the correct quote unquote country. We're just like, okay, you're in the big region. Okay, all of you, shock it off.
Light them up.
And here's the thing. Every country is going to do that. There isn't. You show me a country that isn't completely insolvent and falling apart, and if they get attacked, if your borders are violated by drones, let alone weapons and explosives that are attacking civilian targets, they're going to respond in kind or worse if they have the ability to. There's no India and Pakistan. That's all they do is just lob missiles at each other all day. Like, there are the yeah, I'm getting overexcited, but there is no other country I think would be so vilified simply for saying stop throwing shit at us.
Right, but my favorite part about it is, and we were talking as well, just to throw this in, how the left wing is now saying that, well, if Israel really wanted peace, if they wanted peace in the Middle East, if they wanted peace with Palestine, they would let down the Iron Dome and demolish it. The Iron Dome, for those who don't know, is Israel's rocket defense system. It's just a grid around Israel that will take down mortar fire or missiles or rockets that come into Israel. It's totally defensive. It has zero offensive capabilities. So the left wing and BDS is now saying if Israel really wanted peace, they'd drop their missile defense system. If you want peace, drop your defenses.
Ignoring the fact, so why is there a missile defense system? The peaceful
why is it so active?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it used so often?
Gets the noggin jogging.
It does. But I'll tell you what really grinds my gears. And for those who don't know, I'm very sick, and I might be choking on myself.
If he dies like and subscribe if he dies on camera, so that we can at least
and if you could throw a couple shekels our way for the funeral, because I'm a mere construction worker, and my dad probably wouldn't want to fucking pay for my funeral, but he would. He'd find a way. But
we'll just put the body into the foundation of one of the buildings you're working on. When you go to the boiler room, I'm there.
No, and I'll haunt the hell out of all of you. Now, but the point is, so BDS, let's take the UN, for example. The UN had, and I wish I brought this up. I actually thought of it, but we just figured out how to put screens up on our feed. The UN has condemned Israel at a rate 40 times higher than the Congo, much more than North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan for human rights violations. So they tell you Israel's, not only pulling the strings of America, they're oppressing the Palestinians. Israel tried to go to the peace talks in the 90s with Clinton.
I remember.
He said, all you need to do is give up Jerusalem to the Palestinians, and we'll have peace. They're like, Jerusalem? That's like
our capital?
It's the center of our life. This is why we're here. That's why we moved here. That's why we built this country. And what's funny also is that Israel built a country about 1,000 times nicer than every Middle Eastern country around them within 50, 60 years. They say last time I went to Israel, I heard one of the tour guides say the state bird of Israel is the crane. Not the crane like, but like the crane. What creates buildings?
The construction crane.
Because and they did it in a place with no water. They asked for a land this big on the map, and they turned the desert with no water into paradise. And all of a sudden, the Palestinians say, which were literally funneled in there from Lebanon, from
Jordan,
Saudi Arabia, from Jordan, and they say, this is our land.
We've always been here.
Yeah, we've always been here. Meanwhile, it was just a couple of Bedouin tribes.
And the Bedouins don't have any problems with the Jews.
No, there's a place in Israel called the Machtesh Ramon, which is one of the coolest places on earth, by the way. As a festival kid, it blew my mind. They play drums. They're belly dancers. They're They're nomads. They're the most beautiful people. They're Arabs, but they are just like they're one of the greatest people on earth. And I will say that. I mean, 100%. I'd put them up against just about any people. They are the most inviting and decent. They're like gypsies if gypsies wouldn't rob you. You know?
So not
they're
anything.
like,
so they're nothing like gypsies then.
Well, fair. But my point is, I just Israel is the only place in the Middle East, and I know this is an old trope as well, but that will allow Arabs, Muslims, Jews, gays, anyone to march, to be in parliament. And yet Palestine, who's still stoning gays to death and adulterers, they're the good guys who are run by a terrorist organization, but people like David Duke endorse them. David Duke endorsed Ilhan Omar.
Some white supremacists. That's pretty, well, I don't know. I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that what they're doing?
But what's sad is that's not his enemy. I'll give you an example. Jared Taylor of American Renaissance, who was disgustingly defamed and taken off Twitter and taken off, well, not YouTube yet, thank God, Baruch Hashem. But one of the founders of American Renaissance, Jared Taylor, who is a white supremacist, he's what's called a white advocate, but he's also one of the best people on earth. David Duke came to one of the conferences, and I'm sure I've told this story a million times, but David Duke came to one of his conferences. My father was there, and he stood up and asked a question, and David Duke was banned from American Renaissance because David Duke stood up and said, well, what about the Jewish question? And Jared Taylor was like, beat a dirtbag, basically. And you know why? The white advocate movement was funded, and American Renaissance was overwhelmingly funded by two Jews.
You said
MAGA.
Jew, and
MAGA.
More proof that MAGA is in fact a white supremacist.
Well, she is. We don't judge.
Mm-hmm. You accept them into your homes. You feed them kibble in the morning.
How dare you? I don't feed her kibble. I give her a signature. It's much nicer.
What signature? What'd you say?
Signature with a Z.
What is it?
Signature. It's like
I'm saying, no, what is it?
It's fancy food. It's fancy
Okay.
food.
Okay, I was like, I don't care what it's called. I'm just asking what it is. Ooh.
She likes that salmon, baby.
Wait, so not only is your dog a white supremacist, but she's also a lesbian. She's a fish eater.
You can say a lot of things about Maggie the dog, but she is no lesbian.
It's okay that she's a white supremacist, just not.
She loves the D. That was a male dog that's made her go crazy.
You sure she wasn't just triggered because of the?
She doesn't care. A male dog. Woo-hoo!
You sure she wasn't just angry?
It's a communist.
This is the most MAGA has ever been involved in the show.
Look, she's got a ball in her mouth. Look, she's definitely not a lesbian. Hey.
Oh, who wants to be a mascot? Who wants to be a mascot? Buy Kaggot for MAGA.
I like that. Now let me say this. The anti-Israel movement, the thing that people don't get is that Israel and Israelis are nothing like liberal Jews. Liberal atheist Jews are white, high IQ, affluent people in America. Now, if I just said white, high IQ, affluent Americans, you would probably think liberal elitist asshole, because in these days, the higher your IQ, the higher your affluence, the more likely you are to be liberal and hate yourself. Talk about white privilege.
That's something we should definitely address at some point.
Yeah, it really is, actually. I think so. It's a big, That's probably the question of our time: is why do we hate ourselves so much? But if you want to compare liberal Jews to Israelis, there's no comparison. Like I showed in the chart, Israel wants us to have a wall. Israel is highly conservative. They're highly pro-American. They just made it. How many streets are named Trump now?
I don't know, but are
A
there really?
lot.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Sure. Real quick, just so everyone in the feed can enjoy this, check this out. I'm about to blow your dicks out of your mind.
Not my dick. My dick is always in my mind.
How dare you?
You're the one attacking my genitals.
Oh, look, an entire square named after Trump.
Donald Trump Square.
Look at that. And wait, hold on. There are streets too. They love him. And people will then say, well.
But he's definitely an anti-Semite.
No, well, yeah, but but the right wing, well, they're actually left wing, but we've been through this. The right, they'll say, well, that just proves it. Israel owns Trump. He's the worst. No, it's that they're right wing, and they see a right wing president that believes in what they think as well, and they love him. Israel loves Trump. He's got a better approval rating there than he does here. And the Orthodox here and the conservative, meaning conservative Jews, not politically conservative Jews, there's Reformed, conservative, Orthodox, love Trump. And every time this happens, that the right wing, like David Duke, who's not right wing, he endorsed Ilhan Omar. Every time they see that, they'll come up with another excuse. Well, because he's bought off by the Jews. No, it's because the Jews love him. That's why.
It's interesting how, like, it basically, like, Trump almost serves as like a canvas for so many different groups. Anyone who doesn't love him to just project their hatred and their motives on. It's like not all the people who are very against Jews, when they see Trump, they both think that he is, well, the people who don't like Jews think that Trump is bought off by the Jews. The people who don't like Trump because they're social justice warriors think that he hates everyone, including the Jews. So it's like, how can he hate and serve them at the same time?
Well, and meanwhile, and it's funny because the truth is literally directly in the middle. Because the right says, not the right. I don't want to keep calling them the right. They're not right wing. They're literal socialists. But anyway, the far right and the far left, the right thinks that he's bought off by the Jews. The left wing, who, by the way, hates Israel, which is hilarious, say that he hates Jews. The truth is directly in the center, which is Trump doesn't care about the Jews. His son-in-law is a Jew. His daughter Ivanka, who the left wing said he has sexual attractions to, she's an Orthodox Jew now, and it's his favorite daughter, favorite child. But the fact of the matter is, Trump doesn't care about that. Trump doesn't care about race or identity or religion. Trump cares about the whole ideology of MAGA. He cares about people who share his values. That's it. And Israel and Netanyahu share his values. Strong borders, low immigration, base it on your people, and that's it. Even Ann Coulter is the same way. Who they worship, who I love.
She's pretty funny sometimes and pretty insightful sometimes. I mean, wasn't she one of the few people that actually predicted that Trump was going to be president, or very early on?
Remember they laughed at her. She was on The View, and they said, I think it was Joy Behar said to her, out of the candidates so far, who do you think, this is early on, she said, who do you think has the best chance of winning? And Ann Coulter paused and said, out of the declared candidates, Donald Trump. And everyone laughed at her.
Who's laughing now, baby?
Check this out. Talk while I do this.
I'm making mouth noises. Talk. talk, talk,
Mm.
talk, 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 talk. Trump, 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 Trump. Here, I'm doing my CNN impression. Trump, 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 Trump.
No, you got to throw an Orange Man bad in.
Orange man bad, orange man bad, 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 orange man bad. Thank you. Thank you. Brought to you by Halliburton. Actually, no, that wouldn't be Halliburton. Who's like the bigger? And that's another interesting question. Like, who are the major corporate sponsors of places like CNN and whatnot? Because someone must be giving them money.
I am so sorry. I was wrong. It was
Okay, here we
Bill
are.
Maher.
And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
All right.
What about of all of them?
That's
I mean,
it.
Scott
All right,
Walker,
we don't want to get copy strikes, so let's.
Scott Walker, would you say?
Of the ones who aren't.
But yeah, there we go. There you have
And
it.
they laugh at her just like they laugh at us.
Yep.
And I know this is in Israel, and I hate. I had second guesses of us doing this podcast about Israel because I don't want to be the stereotypical Ben Shapiro type because I'm nothing like him. If I had to choose, if Israel and America went to war, I would obviously fight for America.
Well, of course.
But a lot of people think that we wouldn't. Like we wouldn't. We would go to Israel and fight.
But you know what though? That ties in perfectly to what we're talking about though, because like, why is there always this idea? Literally, no other group I think is held to this idea that like, if you're a Jewish American, it's automatically assumed that just because Israel exists and that you don't necessarily want to blow it up, that means that you're a double agent or that you will choose Israel first. And they don't do that with Chinese Americans. They don't do that with Arab America. I mean, okay, maybe some do, but there's like, it's pretty difficult to find like a single Arab country that people are like, oh, you're obviously like working for that country. Unless if you're someone like Ilhan Omar, where you actually actively like, like I don't say things like I don't like this country and this like we need to do more for this country. But in general, Jewish people are always, I mean, even in college student governments, I forget where that was exactly, but like one of the Arab groups wanted this Jewish representative on the student council to be removed because they said that she couldn't be trusted or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was ridiculous.
The dual loyalty one. Yeah, which Ilhan Omar said as well, the dual loyalty. The thing is, people are simple-minded, and I'll say that and I'm sorry, that's true. I mean, it's on our side and on their side. The left wing, they make these memes and they retweet them, these terrible, the left can't meme, obviously, but they make these ridiculous, like really corny Trump memes where he's like sucking Putin's dick or something. And then they'll call us homophobes, by the way. But they make these ridiculous memes. But then on the right, what's sad is the pro-Israel crowd as well, and that kind of hurts my case. But the pro-Israel, everyday boomer conservative also retweets these really corny memes and these basic tropes of conservatism.
Idiots do no one any favors.
Right. And when I call them out, I get in trouble. On our side, I get called infighting and all this, but you don't want to boost people who make you look dumb, and we, as conservatives, they already think we're dumb and evil. Why give them the
more ammunition?
Right. But the thing about Israel is it's, especially a lot of people have anti-Bible insanity in their heads. Anything that has to do with religion, anything that has to do with Israel or God, they hate immediately, and they think, oh, why should Israel have this country? Because of God? Oh, God. We need to give it to the Palestinians. God isn't a good enough reason. Well, the thing about Israel is there are 1 million countries in this world that are far worse. Actually, none of them have the restraint of Israel, but the fact that Israel is singled out actually isn't anti-Semitism. It really isn't. It's not because everyone hates Jews. It's because it's become a talking point on the left and the right that has made it a divisive issue. We're in such a divided time that the left and the right used to agree, well, Israel's, let them have it. It's this big. They turned it into paradise. It's too late. But now it's become a left and right issue. And somehow on the far right, which went so far right that it came onto the left.
Horseshoe in action.
Right. And it's sad. It's all sad. It's all nonsense. Why is not the same amount? China, they blame the Jews for interracial couples. This is my favorite example.
Oh, the porn thing.
Yeah, well, you know this, but I'll say it on camera. China has funded, have you ever heard of blacked.com?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
A straight porn site, but you got it.
So heathen sex, but yes.
Right. And so it's one of our weirdos,
Perverts.
But black.com got more funding from China, as Trump says, China, than anywhere else.
And not because the Chinese people actually like black people.
No, well, what it is they have been pushing anti-American, pro-interracial couple. Not that there's anything wrong with interracial couples, but China has been pushing this propaganda on us. And I heard it said, this is going to get us canceled. Nice seeing you, cats, but here we go. I heard it said that China looked at the IQ ratios in America and Europe and saw that sub-Saharan Africans and other types of, Jamaican, Haitian, that they saw the IQ ratio, saw all of that, and started pushing that on Europe. They fund all the drugs that come into our country. They fund most of our pornography. So why did they pick black porn to push on our people? Why did they buy up so many movie studios? The Jews used to run Hollywood. That's true. Look at it now.
Though. Oh no, it's all about the Chinese market now.
It's all Chinese. It's all Chinese. And so why would they choose to spend their money to push black porn and
which is not for their own consumption? I mean, look at the Chinese commercial where where the woman puts a black guy in a washing machine, and then he comes back out this gorgeous Chinese guy, but as his way to sell laundry detergent. It's not for them. They do not like black people in China.
It's for thee, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But people will say, well, it's the Jews. No, it's not the Jews. The Chinese funded many of the NGOs that are bringing the Muslims and sub-Saharan Africans into Europe. But people say, the Jews. I'm sure there are Jews involved. Of course there are. I'm sure there's white Christians as well.
They try to say it's all Soros.
Yeah, well, Soros.
Yeah, one really bad actor. But
he's one of the worst. There's no doubt.
But he
hates Jews, by the way, and he attacks Israel on the daily.
Yeah, he's a Bond villain.
Soros is the number one. He's the tip of the spear about this Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. He's the tip of the spear about this these criminal charges being brought against Netanyahu is Soros, the Jew, coming against the Israeli prime minister, who's right-wing and loves Trump in America, by the way.
Can't have that.
No, because he's a Nazi.
Ironic.
Well, no, a literal Nazi.
Are we talking about Netanyahu being a Nazi or Soros being a Nazi?
Soros. No, he's a literal Nazi.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
No, he's actually a Nazi.
Yeah, it would surprise.
He worked with the Nazis.
That's right. He is a collaborator. I forgot about that.
He's a Judenrat.
Mm.
He is.
No.
And my friend Katz, he's a hell of a guy.
Mm.
He pays for this service that allows me to do this, and so I'm going to do this. Can we see this?
Yes.
Hold on.
Please maintain focus while we find you content. That's how vilification of George Soros moved from the fringes to the mainstream. Don't talk bad about Soros. He pays our
Yeah, of
bills.
course, Soros. Oh, fuck. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second.
Now, we don't want to play videos if we can help it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then let's
Yeah.
do this. George Soros is in an interview, and he says the best time of his life. He was a Jew in Nazi Germany, and he was sheltered by a Gentile family. And a lot of people, by the way, a lot of people think Gentile is a bad word. It's not. It's in the Torah. It's in the Bible. I don't mean it like that.
Just means non-Jew.
Yeah, that's literally all it means. Just non-Jew. And by the way, at this point in my life, I identify more with non-Jews than I do Jews. So just
put it out there.
He was a collaborator. And in the interviewer, after he said, yeah, I was a Nazi collaborator, basically. The interviewer said, well, do you regret anything? He said, no, it was the best time of my life. I was powerful. And now he's nation building, and that's what hopefully Bill Barr is going to, and Rudy Giuliani is going to find in Ukraine. Because whatever you think of Glenn Beck, he did the greatest rundown of Ukraine and the Open Society, which is George Soros' foundation. And just wait till you see it.
That should be interesting. Well, I think we have covered the subject about as well as we can without having a script and an intern to give us tons and tons and tons of information. This is just coming from our noggins. Yeah, I think that the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, which is at this point mostly a college campus phenomenon, but that's where all the bad ideas seem to be coming from these days. Like, there's nothing good coming out of colleges, really. I mean, like, a lot of hashtags, a lot of weird, fringy ideas that eventually mature into very dysfunctional adults that have really shitty ideas in society and maybe eventually become people that can actually implement them if they hold on to them, which I think is probably the whole point why they push this bullshit at college so much. But they are trying, and
right. I mean, if they can get 1 out of 10 to maintain that position, it's over.
Yeah. And it's not like colleges are getting any better. They're only getting more extreme. They're only becoming, I mean, I don't think there are any colleges anywhere. Colleges might actually be the most anti-Israel places in the entire world. Like, Western
Yet
academics.
somehow Jews get blamed for it. Jews get blamed for the college deterioration and college leftism, yet college is the most anti-Semitic group on earth.
I mean, like, literally student representatives like being called to be removed from student government, Jewish clubs not being allowed to form, just protest after protest after protest, some of them actually paid for by the college. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? Israel is a country. And there's really only there are only a few things that really make it unique out of all the other countries. But the biggest one is, of course, that it's the only country that is Jewish. And whether or not you like that, whether or not you don't have to love Jewish people, you don't have to agree with Israel to acknowledge that a country has the right to exist. Every other country takes that for granted. But for whatever reason, well, we know what reason, we spent this last half hour plus talking about it, Israel is always picked on, let's say. And I know, like, there's going to be some really big brained person on Twitter telling me, like, oh, look, you are doing Jewish propaganda. It's like, no, I'm not doing Jewish propaganda. I'm just saying the country has a right to exist. And it's stupid to say that the Israelis and the Jews are trying to control and unravel society. Because as Jewpiter pointed out, it's mostly the Chinese at this point that are trying to destroy the West. I think the Jews.
And if, by the way, just to interject, if the person that you think is controlling the world, okay? If they are controlling the world, I promise, you have my word, you won't know about it. If someone is controlling the world and someone really has the world by the balls, media-wise,
You'll never hear about it.
you won't know it. And
What
if
they
they're
say,
telling you it's the Jews, if they're telling you it's the cats, if they're telling you it's the Jupiters, if you're telling you it's the mag of the dogs, it's probably the rabbits. That's what
you never suspected the rabbits the whole time, but they're vegetarian. Hitler was a vegetarian.
Bunny Foo Foo
Hitler was actually a rabbit.
is run by the Jews.
That is our new the greatest thing we've taken away from this is we found out that Hitler was actually in the pocket of Big Rabbit.
Big Rabbit is not to be joked about, and
No.
now we're really going to be canceled. Now that we, thanks, cats.
It was the
Come
episode.
here, say goodbye, Mega. Come here. Come on.
All right, everyone.
Wait, before we go.
Oh no!
I know you hate it, but you love it too.
Yeah,
Mega.
always
Say
a joke.
goodbye to the people. Bye, the people.
Bye, Mega. Jesus. And on that note, thank you for watching Kaggot with us. We'll see you again sometime next week, maybe sooner. All right, love you all. Sooner, hopefully. Okay, bye.